So talk to us about these runoffs. It appears that that we're going to have two. I mean, it's still possible that Purdue somehow pulls it out of a hat, and but I think at least the trend is that there's going to be a runoff. David Perdue, John Ossoff,
Yeah,
and Kelly Loeffler, and Raphael
Raphael
Warnock.
Warner. Yeah.
Uh, what's your sense of the chances for either one of them? Does two make it easier for the Democrats to pick up one? I mean, 49-51 is not is not great, but
Yeah. No, I think there's a motivating factor that is going to happen between now and January 5th, right? So it's going to be an all-out race to the finish. Republicans are obviously going to organize and come out in droves. I think Raphael Warnock probably has the best chance because of the amount that Kelly Loeffler is unliked. She's really not liked in the state of Georgia, and she had a challenger, a Republican challenger in the jungle primary, which is why she only got, I think, around 20 some odd percent. Versus if she was running by herself, they would have secured that seat easily because there was nearly 10 Democrats running against Raphael Warnock. Joe Lieberman's son was one of them. So at this point, I think Raphael Warnock has a really good chance of winning the runoff because Loeffler is not liked. John Ossoff, he may just reap the benefits of being on the same special election as Raphael Warnock. Otherwise, I think David Perdue could eke it out at the very end if it comes down to a special election. But I mean, I don't want to dismiss Ossoff too much because one thing he has the capacity to do more than probably anybody else in the state is raise money. He's able to raise a lot of money. And if he ever gets a chance to get back on the stage with David Perdue, I mean, he had that viral moment 2 weeks ago where he literally shut David Perdue down so badly that he canceled the third and final debate. So, the young man might do an excellent job.
Money seems to me to be the least of concerns. I mean, I would imagine, right, there's going to be an enormous amount of money that's going to come into that race on both sides.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point where, I mean, like there's only so much money you can spend
That's true.
between now and then. So much of it, it seems to me, is going to come from what has pre-existed, this infrastructure that has been built there, this organizing infrastructure. And it seems to me that, these groups are not going to be wanting for cash. It's really just a question of like, can you get these folks who have been mobilized for, I mean, at least a certain percentage of them for the first time. Many, have been just grinding it out year after year, waiting for others to join. But I mean, it feels like Georgia has hit a critical mass. I guess the real question is like, who will have the urgency? Because it seems to me prior to 2018, right? And prior really till this era, Republicans generally overperformed in special elections and generally overperformed in mid-year, off-year elections.
Yeah.
I don't know where this one fits, right? Because it's coming in January when, is it there's who's in charge enough for people to be rebelling against? Like, is it still going to be people voting against Donald Trump when they come out for that?
Well, yeah, I know. Actually, I think it will be. If nothing else, they'll be voting against Amy Coney Barrett, right? They'll be voting against Lindsey Graham. There are plenty of villains left on the Republican side of the equation. They'll be voting against Brian Kemp for that matter. All the voter suppression that kept Stacey Abrams from being the governor right now. Like, there's a long list of people that we are focused on in the state of Georgia that will push us out to the poll. I think the other question to ask, Sam, is who's going to lead the Republican fight, right? If Donald Trump is on his way out, he's going to burn everything down on his way out. He's not going to be doing any favors for anybody. I just don't feel like he's going to be magnanimous enough to help out the Republicans when if he loses. And so then who's going to be the figurehead that's going to be able to push people? There's no heir.
That's a really good point.
Right? So without an heir apparent, they have no leadership to come in and mobilize people.
That's an excellent point. I mean, I don't know if I'm David Perdue or Kelly Loeffler, if I really want Donald Trump, particularly by January, right? Like, I mean, he'd have to be on pretty, he'd have to be, you know, very well behaved for the next 2 or 3 months to come in there and not drive a tremendous amount of anger towards him and drive people to the polls.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I don't know. You have a better sense. Like, do you need a national figure to come in there? I mean, I imagine I wouldn't be surprised if Barack Obama is not in Georgia.
Listen, Sam, we're going to have everybody from Joe Biden to Barack Obama to all the people who are still, for greater, you know, for better, for worse, they're still great leaders in the Democratic Party. Who's coming from the Republican side, right? Who's going to be pushing it? Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, David Perdue, Brian Kemp. Like, there's literally no little Marco Rubio. I mean, there's really nobody who can come in as a leader. But Mike Pence, no. I mean, literally nobody. They're going to be bringing Candace Owens or somebody. That's how bad their bench is going to be between now and January. I'm sure they can rebuild, but not in time for this special election.